A sky full of questions, the Belgian UFO phenomenon. The night of March 30th, 1990, a date etched into the annals of the unexplained. Over the small nation of Belgium, something extraordinary occurred. Thousands of ordinary people going about their lives looked up. They saw things they could not understand, strange, silent objects gliding through the night sky. These were not stars, these were not airplanes. What were these mysterious visitors, and what did they want? The questions began that night. They continue to echo even today. Belgium, a country known for its history, its chocolate, its peaceful towns. Suddenly, it found itself at the heart of a global enigma. Reports flooded in from across the nation. From Wavre, from Brussels, from numerous other communities. Citizens described massive, dark, triangular craft. They moved with an eerie silence, a disturbing grace. These were not figments of imagination. The sightings were too many, too consistent. Could this be a visitation, a message from beyond our world? The significance of this event cannot be understated. It is monumental. This was not a fleeting glimpse, a trick of the light. This was a sustained wave of unidentified flying objects. Witnesses included everyday people, families, individuals. Crucially, they also included on-duty police officers, trained observers, reliable sources. Their testimonies added immense weight. This was not mass hysteria. This was something real, something that demanded answers. The Belgian UFO wave of 1989 to 1990, peaking on that incredible March night. It stands as one of the most compelling UFO cases in modern history. Why? Because it challenges everything we think we know. It pushes the boundaries of our science. It questions our place in the cosmos. Prepare yourselves. We are about to journey into a mystery that has baffled experts for decades, a mystery that suggests we are not alone. Beyond belief, unpacking an unforgettable encounter. What makes the Belgian UFO incident so utterly captivating? Why does it still spark debate and wonder around the globe? It is the sheer quality and quantity of the evidence. We have eyewitness accounts, hundreds of them, people from all walks of life, all describing remarkably similar phenomena. These were not isolated, disconnected events. They formed a pattern of something truly unknown, something that defied conventional explanation. The objects themselves were unlike anything seen before. Witnesses consistently described vast triangular platforms. They were dark, absorbing the light around them. 3 bright white lights marked each corner, and in the center a powerful pulsing red light. They possessed the ability to hover motionless for minutes, then in an instant accelerate to incredible speeds that no known aircraft could achieve. How was this possible? What technology could allow such maneuvers? This was not an event ignored by the authorities, far from it. The Belgian Air Force became directly involved, a crucial point. They took the reports with utmost seriousness. Radar stations on the ground picked up these unidentified targets. Military radar, sophisticated technology. These were not weather anomalies or phantom signals. The blips on the screen were solid, tangible objects. The military scrambled 2 F-16 fighter jets. Their mission to intercept and identify. What did these advanced warplanes encounter? The official response makes this case unique. There was no widespread cover-up, no outright denial of the strange events. The Belgian military officials were remarkably transparent. They publicly acknowledged the sightings. They confirmed the radar contacts. They admitted that what their pilots and radar operators tracked was real, and, most importantly, that it remained unidentified. This openness has fueled serious investigation. Decades have passed, yet the core mystery endures. What flew through Belgian skies? Whispers in the dark, the first alarms. The date was March 30th, 1990, an otherwise ordinary Friday evening. Across Belgium, families were settling in. The day was winding down, but the sky above was preparing for a spectacle. Something profound was about to disturb the peace. It began around 10 o'clock in the evening, a subtle shift in the night's familiar canvas. The first reports started trickling in, whispers of strange lights, unusual shapes. Could anyone have guessed what was truly unfolding? A mystery for the ages was dawning. The initial sightings centered around the area of Wavre, a quiet region unprepared for such an intrusion. People looked up, perhaps by chance, perhaps drawn by an instinct. They saw lights where no lights should be, objects moving in ways that defied explanation. Was it a secret military exercise, some new technology, or was it something far stranger? The questions hung heavy in the cool night air. These were not airplanes, these were not helicopters, these were something else entirely. Soon the phenomenon was not confined to Wavre. Reports began to surface from the bustling capital, Brussels. More eyes turned skyward, more minds struggled to comprehend. The descriptions were strikingly similar. Dark, silent craft, unearthly lights. This was not an isolated incident, it was spreading. The sheer number of witnesses began to grow. A collective experience was taking shape, an experience that would challenge belief. The night was young, but the mystery was already vast. What did these first witnesses truly see? They described objects of significant size, moving with a purpose that felt intelligent. The lack of sound was deeply unsettling to many. How could something so large move so silently? These were not fleeting glimpses. Many observed these craft for several minutes, enough time to burn the image into their memory, enough time to know this was no ordinary event. The first alarms were sounding. Belgium was on alert. A craft unseen, the triangular enigma. The objects that filled the Belgian sky were unlike anything known. Witnesses described a massive, dark triangle, a perfect geometric form. It glided through the darkness, a shadow against the stars. Its surface appeared non-reflective, absorbing the ambient light. What advanced material could create such an effect? This was not a random shape, it was deliberate, designed, but by whom? The triangular enigma had arrived. The wave of sightings did not go unnoticed by authorities. Among the most credible witnesses were on-duty police officers, gendarmes, trained observers patrolling their beats, men and women accustomed to unusual situations. But nothing could have prepared them for this. Their testimonies would prove crucial. They were not prone to fantasy or exaggeration. Their duty was to report the facts, and the facts were simply unbelievable. Yet they saw what they saw. Multiple police patrols encountered these silent giants. They described the same massive triangular objects, the same pattern of brilliant white lights at the corners, the same ominous pulsing red light in the center. Officers reported the craft hovering low, sometimes just above rooftops. They witnessed the eerie silence firsthand. They saw the impossible accelerations with their own eyes. Some attempted to follow the objects in their patrol cars, a futile chase against technology far beyond their own. Their official reports began to flood the channels. The accounts from law enforcement were remarkably consistent. They matched the descriptions given by civilian witnesses. This cross-corroboration was vital. It ruled out isolated misperceptions or hoaxes. What the police saw, the public saw too. This wasn't a case of a few excitable individuals. It was a widespread phenomenon, observed by reliable sources. The police officers, with their calm, professional demeanor, they lent a new level of seriousness to the unfolding events. Their words carried weight, they demanded attention. The involvement of police officers transformed the situation. It was no longer just a collection of strange stories. It became a matter of public safety, of national security. If these objects were real, what were their intentions? The police reports triggered a more formal response. The mystery deepened and the stakes were raised. These guardians of the night, sworn to protect and serve, they found themselves face to face with the utterly unknown. Their testimony forms a cornerstone of the Belgian UFO enigma, an enigma that was just beginning to escalate. As civilian reports mounted, a new level of concern emerged. The Belgian Air Force, guardians of the nation's airspace, became aware. The sheer volume of sightings could no longer be ignored, especially with credible accounts from police officers on the ground. Something was indeed traversing the skies over Belgium, something unauthorized, something unknown. The military machine began to stir. The night was far from over. A new chapter in this mystery was about to begin. The Air Force was now on alert. The wait was not long. The evidence soon appeared. Radar stations lit up, registering unidentified returns. These were not weather phenomena or birds. The signals were solid and troubling, correlating with visual sightings. Wavre, Brussels, the heart of the phenomenon. Military radar confirmed the sightings. This was no illusion. The objects were real, their movements extraordinary. They appeared, disappeared, then reappeared elsewhere. Their movements were erratic, yet controlled. They matched no known flight plans or military exercises. These were rogue signals, intruders in Belgian airspace. The mystery had entered the realm of hard electronic data. Technicians and officers were baffled. These returns matched nothing in their databases. The characteristics were alien to their experience. How could they accelerate so quickly? How could they hover? The data was undeniable. The implications staggering. The Belgian Air Force faced an unprecedented event. Multiple radar installations confirmed the anomalies. Triangulation added immense credibility to the detections. The objects were tracked by a network designed to protect the nation. The network signaled a profound unknown. Belgium was hosting visitors of a very unusual kind. Section 3, Scramble, F-16S joined the hunt. With radar confirming unidentified intruders, the decision was made. The Belgian Air Force scrambled F-16S. The hunt was about to take to the skies. Around 11:30, the roar of jet engines shattered the quiet. Two F-16S took off from Wavre Air Base, their mission to find, intercept, and identify these unknown objects. They climbed rapidly, guided by ground control radar. The objective was clear: get visual confirmation, record data. The F-16S were closing in. Section 4, First Contact, the elusive targets. As the F-16S reached the designated airspace, the search began in earnest. Pilots scanned the dark expanse, their eyes straining for any visual sign. Their onboard radar systems swept the skies ahead. Suddenly their systems registered contact. Targets acquired. The F-16S had found what they were looking for, or so it seemed. These were not faint signals. These were solid radar locks. The same objects tracked by ground installations were now on their scopes. The moment of truth was approaching. Could these advanced fighter jets finally solve the mystery? The pilots prepared to engage, to observe, to understand. The initial radar contacts confirmed the extraordinary nature of the phenomena. The targets were moving in ways that were simply astounding. Ground control radar operators watched in disbelief. They saw the F-16S attempt to close in, and they saw the UFOs react with incredible agility. These were not passive objects drifting aimlessly. They appeared to respond to the presence of the jets. A high-stakes game of cat and mouse was beginning, played out thousands of feet above the sleeping Belgian countryside. The technology of Earth against something else entirely. A crucial and baffling element emerged almost immediately. Despite multiple radar locks, both from the ground and the F-16S, the pilots could not achieve visual confirmation of the objects. They were there. Their instruments insisted they were there. The radar signatures were strong, unambiguous. Yet when the pilots looked, there was nothing but empty sky. How could this be? Were the objects cloaked? Were they playing tricks with light and perception? This discrepancy between sophisticated sensors and human eyesight was deeply unsettling. It added another layer of profound mystery to the encounter. The data logs from the F-16SE onboard systems would later be analyzed. They would confirm these brief but valid target locks. The information recorded painted a picture of extreme performance speeds and maneuvers far beyond any known aircraft capabilities. The objects seemed to anticipate the jet's movements, evading interception with almost contemptuous ease. This was not just a sighting anymore, it was an interaction, a technological dance with an unknown partner. The F-16S, paragons of human aerial achievement, were being challenged, and the night was about to get even stranger. Section 1. Midnight lock-on, the chase intensifies. The clock struck midnight. March 30th gave way to March 31st, 1990. A new day, but the same profound mystery unfolding in the Belgian skies. The two F-16 Fighting Falcons were now deep in the hunt. Their pilots, highly skilled, were pushing their machines to the limit. Guided by ground control, they closed in on the unseen quarry. Suddenly, a breakthrough, or so it appeared. The sophisticated onboard radar of the F-16S screamed to life. Solid, undeniable radar locks, multiple times. The targets were there, pinned by beams of energy, but what exactly had they found? The feeling in the cockpits must have been electric, a mixture of adrenaline and apprehension. They had achieved what they were sent to do, find the intruders. These were not faint, fleeting signals. These were strong, hard returns. The radar showed objects, real objects. The same objects that ground radar had been tracking relentlessly. The same objects that countless civilians and police officers had witnessed. Now the most advanced fighter jets in the Belgian arsenal had them. The chase was truly on. There was no turning back. This was a direct engagement, albeit an electronic one. The sky itself seemed to hold its breath. Ground controllers confirmed the locks. Their screens mirrored what the pilots saw. A coordinated effort, a technological pincer movement. The F-16S were designed for air superiority, to dominate the skies. They carried the hopes of a nation seeking answers. The pilots meticulously followed their training, attempting to get closer, to identify, to understand, but these were no ordinary bogies. These were something else, something that defied easy categorization. The initial data streaming from the radar contacts was already perplexing. The game of cat and mouse was about to take a very strange turn. What did these first solid locks reveal? They confirmed the presence of objects moving with intelligent control. They were not drifting aimlessly, they were reacting. The F-16S, armed with cutting-edge technology, were powerful, but the targets they now faced were proving to be elusive. The radar provided data speed, altitude, heading, but the numbers just didn't add up to anything familiar. The pilots were professionals, trained for every eventuality, or so they thought. The night was about to teach them a lesson in the truly unknown. Just as the F-16 pilots felt they had a grasp on the situation, it shattered. Each time their powerful radar systems locked onto a target, the unthinkable happened. The unidentified objects performed maneuvers that were simply impossible. Instantaneous accelerations, mind-bending changes in direction. Imagine an object tracked at 10,000 feet, a significant altitude. Suddenly, in the blink of an eye, it dives, plummeting to just 500 feet above the ground in mere seconds. The G-forces involved would crush any human pilot. The stresses would tear apart any known aircraft. Yet, these objects performed these feats effortlessly. The radar locks, so solid moments before, would break. The F-16S, masterpieces of aerospace engineering, were left chasing phantoms. The pilots would try to reacquire the target, and they would, only for the sequence to repeat itself. Lock on, impossible maneuver. Lock broken, It was a frustrating, baffling dance with shadows. These were not evasive maneuvers of a conventional fighter jet. This was something far beyond that. It was as if the laws of physics, as we understand them, were being rewritten. Or perhaps these objects operated by laws we have yet to discover. How could this be happening? The speeds and accelerations recorded were staggering. They surpassed anything in the known inventory of any air force on Earth. These were not just slight deviations from expected performance, they were orders of magnitude greater. The objects could accelerate from a near hover to incredible velocities almost instantly. No sonic boom was reported, no visible means of propulsion. How did they generate such thrust? How did they manage such inertia? These questions echoed in the minds of the pilots and ground controllers. The evidence was mounting. This was no ordinary encounter. This was something that defied all conventional explanation. The Belgian Air Force was confronted with a technological marvel, or perhaps something not of this earth. The pilots, brave and skilled, did everything they could. They pushed their F-16S, but the targets remained untouchable. It was like trying to catch smoke with your bare hands. The objects seemed to anticipate every move, every strategy. They toyed with the interceptors, demonstrating a clear superiority. A superiority not just in speed, but in maneuverability. The sky chase was becoming a lesson in humility, a demonstration of technology far beyond our own. One of the most perplexing aspects of this entire sky chase emerged, a chilling, inexplicable contradiction. The F-16S radar systems were screaming. Solid locks, tangible targets, ground radar installations confirmed these contacts. Multiple sources agreed. The objects were there. Electronically, they were undeniable. Yet when the pilots strained their eyes, searching the inky blackness, they saw nothing. Absolutely nothing. No lights, no shapes, no silhouettes against the stars, only the cold, empty expanse of the night sky. How could this be possible? Imagine the scene. Two of the world's most advanced fighter jets, their instruments telling them an object is directly ahead. Locked on, tracked. Its position, speed and altitude clearly displayed. The pilots, with their trained eyes, peer through their canopies, expecting to see something, anything. But the space where the target should be is utterly void. This wasn't a fleeting glimpse missed. This was repeated, sustained. Radar contact, yes. Visual contact, no. This was not a malfunction of the F-16 SE systems. The ground radar saw the same targets the F-16S were locking onto. What could explain this phantom presence, this invisible enemy? Were these objects employing some form of advanced cloaking technology, a technology that could bend light around them, rendering them invisible to the naked eye, but still detectable by radar waves? Or was it something even more bizarre, something beyond our current understanding? Perhaps they existed in a state that our senses could not perceive directly. The questions multiplied, the answers remained elusive. This element of invisibility, despite strong radar evidence, was deeply unsettling. It hinted at a level of sophistication that was truly alien. The pilots communicated this bizarre discrepancy to ground control. Confusion and disbelief rippled through the command centers. How do you fight an enemy you cannot see, even when your instruments insist it is there? This was not a scenario covered in any flight manual. It defied logical explanation based on known technology. The chase continued, but it was a chase against ghosts. Ghosts that left very real signatures on their radar screens. The Belgian UFO incident was deepening, becoming more mysterious, more unbelievable with every passing minute. The sky held its secrets close, revealing only tantalizing, terrifying glimpses. The F-16S returned to base, their mission incomplete yet historic. They had not identified the objects but gathered valuable data. The radar data logs were meticulously preserved. What they revealed sent shockwaves through the Belgian military. The tapes confirmed valid target locks. The information was clear. and deeply troubling. The data showed objects performing impossible feats of flight. The speeds were extreme, but the accelerations boggled the mind. From near stationary to hypersonic in an instant, turning at angles that would exert G-forces far beyond any known material strength or biological tolerance if there were occupants. This was not just an anomaly. This was a challenge to physics itself. The data logs were irrefutable proof. Something extraordinary had occurred. The military was faced with a profound dilemma. They had evidence of unidentified flying objects that possessed capabilities far beyond their own. Where did they come from? What were their intentions? Were they a potential threat or simply curious observers? The radar confusion was an understatement. It was more like radar revelation, a glimpse into a different technological reality. The data did not lie, but the truth it told was almost too incredible to accept. The Belgian Air Force did not try to bury this information. They knew the significance of what their pilots and systems had encountered. The data logs became a cornerstone of the subsequent investigation. Proof that this was not mass hysteria or misidentification. This was a genuine encounter with a phenomenon that defied easy answers. The F-16S had chased shadows, yes, but those shadows left undeniable electronic footprints that pointed towards a technology so advanced it seemed almost magical. The sky chase was over, but the quest for understanding had only just begun. The data held the key, but to what door? The early hours of March 31st, 1990, were saturated with an unnerving tension. The F-16s had engaged in a futile pursuit. Their quarry remained unseen, yet undeniably present on their sophisticated radar systems. As the minutes ticked by, the bizarre aerial ballet began to draw to its equally bizarre conclusion. The objects that had confounded pilots and ground controllers alike were preparing for their final act. Suddenly, the radar screens, which had been alive with the dance of these unknown entities, began to clear. The solid, perplexing blips that represented the triangular craft started to fade. This was not a gradual withdrawal. Instead, they vanished. One moment they were there, the next they were simply gone. The screens that had shown the impossible now showed only the ordinary. What could account for such a disappearance? There was no indication of them being shot down. They simply ceased to be detectable. The F-16 pilots, still patrolling the airspace, continued their search, but there was nothing. The powerful roar of the F-16 engines eventually gave way to the relative quiet of the Belgian airbase. The jets, instruments of war and defense, taxied back, their mission leaving more questions than answers. The pilots, elite aviators trained for conventional warfare and interception, climbed out of their cockpits. They were undoubtedly shaken, confronted with a reality that their training manuals could never have prepared them for. They had chased shadows that played games with their multi-million-dollar technology. Debriefings would follow, official reports would be filed, but how could they adequately describe what they had or hadn't seen? The silence of the objects was now mirrored by the stunned silence of those who had pursued them. In the various radar control rooms, a different kind of silence descended. The frantic energy of tracking multiple anomalous targets gave way to a quiet hum of cooling equipment. The screens, once alive with the impossible trajectories of the UFOs, now displayed only the predictable patterns of normal nighttime air traffic. Technicians and officers exchanged bewildered glances. They had witnessed, through the cold, impartial eyes of their machines, something that defied every known parameter of flight. The data was there, recorded, undeniable, but the understanding was completely absent. The silent skies above Belgium now held an even deeper, more profound secret. As the first light of dawn on March 31st, 1990 began to paint the Belgian horizon, the skies above were calm, almost unnaturally so. The drama of the preceding hours seemed like a surreal dream, yet for the hundreds of witnesses on the ground and for the military personnel involved in the air and on radar, it was all too real. The triangular craft, with their silent glide and impossible maneuvers, had departed. They had vanished from radar screens, eluded experienced fighter pilots, and left behind a wake of utter bewilderment. They had offered no explanation for their presence, no clue as to their origin or intent. They simply left, leaving a void in their wake. In the hours and days that followed, there was an unspoken, perhaps even official expectation. If these objects were physical craft, and if they had malfunctioned or been forced into an uncontrolled descent, there would be evidence. Searches, though perhaps not widely publicized, would have been conducted in the areas where the objects were last tracked. But the Belgian countryside yielded no secrets. There was no wreckage discovered, no strange debris found littering fields or forests, no unusual scorch marks on the ground, no unexplained environmental disturbances. It was as if these massive, technologically advanced objects had been ephemeral ghosts. The complete lack of any physical trace was in itself another layer to the profound enigma. The events of March 30th and 31st, 1990, did not simply fade into memory. They could not. The evidence was too strong. The Belgian military, a serious and respected institution, faced a dilemma. What do you tell the public when your own Air Force has chased phantoms? Phantoms that registered clearly on multiple radar systems. Phantoms that outmaneuvered some of the world's most advanced fighter jets. Silence was not an option. The truth, however strange, had to be addressed. In April 1990, just weeks after the incredible sky chase, the Belgian Air Force took a remarkable step. They released a public report, a detailed account of the incident. This was not a dismissal, this was not a cover-up, it was an open admission of a profound mystery. Major General Wilfried de Brouwer, a high-ranking official, fronted this disclosure. The Belgian Air Force's frank admission did not go unnoticed. News of the unidentified triangular objects confirmed by military radar spread like wildfire across the globe. International media outlets picked up the story. Newspapers, television news. Suddenly, the small nation of Belgium was at the center of a global UFO sensation. The Belgian UFO wave, as it came to be known, was major news. This was not just another blurry photo or anecdotal account. This was backed by military radar data, fighter jet encounters, and official statements. The world was fascinated and a little bit unnerved. What was happening in the skies over Europe? The intense media attention brought a new level of scrutiny. UFO investigators, both amateur and professional, flocked to the story. Organizations dedicated to studying unidentified aerial phenomena turned their focus to Belgium. They interviewed witnesses. Despite the intense scrutiny, the global attention, the official investigations, the core mystery of the Belgian UFOs remained stubbornly unsolved. No conventional explanation could adequately account for all the facts. Investigators explored every possibility, every mundane theory. Could it have been advanced, secret human aircraft? Perhaps stealth bombers or experimental drones? But the reported maneuvers, the incredible accelerations, the silent hovering, these capabilities far exceeded even the most advanced known projects of the era. And which nation would test such radical technology over a populated allied country? The theories simply did not fit the observed data. What about meteorological phenomena, strange weather conditions, optical illusions? These explanations were also thoroughly examined and found wanting. The radar returns were too solid, too consistent across multiple platforms. Weather anomalies do not typically appear as structured, triangular objects, nor do they engage in cat-and-mouse games with fighter jets. Optical illusions might explain some isolated sightings, but not hundreds of consistent reports, including those from trained police and military observers. The evidence pointed away from simple misidentification or natural events. This was something tangible, something intelligently controlled, something that defied easy categorization. The Belgian military itself continued to analyze the data. Section 1. The enduring enigma and a photographic detour. Decades have now passed, yet the Belgian sky enigma persists. No definitive answer has ever been found, none whatsoever. The core questions remain unanswered, burning, vital questions. What were those silent, massive, triangular craft? Where did they originate? What was their ultimate purpose here? The mystery of March 1990 is not some dusty historical footnote. It is an active, pulsating question mark hanging in our skies. A profound challenge to our very understanding of reality itself. The truth, as they say, is still out there, patiently waiting to be discovered. In the year 2011, a startling revelation suddenly emerged. A new twist, a famous photograph long and closely associated with the Belgian UFO wave. This particular image depicted a distinct triangular craft, its lights glowing ominously. It had become an iconic symbol for many people across the world. Proof, they thought, but then the man who claimed to have taken it made a confession. It was a hoax. He admitted he had faked the entire thing using polystyrene and simple lights. A model. The news sent shockwaves through the global UFO community. Some felt deeply betrayed. Could this single, newly revealed detail discredit the entirety of the event? But here is the crucial point, the absolute unshakable truth of the matter. This single photographic hoax did not invalidate the Belgian UFO incident, not in the slightest. The real core evidence remained completely untouched. Strong. The hundreds upon hundreds of detailed eyewitness accounts, police officers, civilians, the multiple radar confirmations from various sources, ground stations, F-16 onboard systems, the incredibly detailed official reports from the Belgian Air Force itself. None of this vast body of evidence relied on that one faked photograph. The strong foundation of this incredible case was built on much, much more. Solid, verifiable data and extremely credible, consistent testimony. The photo hoax was, in essence, a sideshow, an unfortunate, misleading distraction. It certainly taught a valuable lesson about the critical examination of all evidence, but it did not, and indeed could not, erase the genuine deep mystery. The Belgian military's own sober and careful assessment was never based on that image. Their remarkable conclusions were drawn from hard radar tapes and direct pilot reports. The truly baffling aspects, the eerie silent flight, the impossible speeds, the evasive maneuvers, these were documented meticulously by sophisticated instruments and highly trained personnel. The true enigma of the Belgian triangles flies onward, far beyond a simple photographic fake. Section 2. A Legacy in the Skies, Impact and Final Thoughts. The Belgian UFO incident left a lasting legacy, transforming the study of unidentified aerial phenomena. The Belgian Air Force's transparency was revolutionary, setting a new precedent. They acknowledged the undeniable radar data, encouraging serious UAP investigation globally. The case became a cornerstone for researchers, showing credible, multifaceted evidence. Radar plots, pilot testimony, and ground witness corroboration demonstrated rigorous investigation potential. It raises the ultimate question: are we truly alone in this vast universe? The Belgian UFO wave remains one of history's most compelling and fascinating UFO sagas. Its central mystery endures, a silent, hovering testament to the unexplained. The search for answers, for the undeniable truth, must always continue.